we think differently. And we're pulling from a vast array of experiences and applying them to situations in a way that nobody else can. So it puts us in a very unique and exciting position because it's really not about the destination. That's not why we're in it. We're in it because we love to build. And when you think about that, it takes the pressure off a little bit because this is where the fun is. This is where the chaos is. And I think is what we all collectively thrive on. And when you stop worrying about the exit or the $5 million or the whatever number you're thinking of, that's not going to give you the adrenaline or the dopamine. It's the build that will do that. I don't know. It's not that deep. Life is so much more than this. This feeds our soul 100%. Don't get me wrong. This doesn't mean that I don't care because I care so deeply. But for me, it's not that deep. There's always going to be something else to build. There's always going to be another project. See your projects through to their natural end date and then do something else. Just stick with it. Follow your heart and your excitement, and that will never lead you astray. And I think one of the big lessons that I've learned along this journey.
You're listening to Brainwork Framework, a business and marketing podcast brought to you by focus-biz.com.
Welcome back to another episode. With us today is a founder, host, and co-founder of a podcast called Mimir and productivity app called Aura One, Maddie Kelly. So excited to have you on today. How you doing?
Great. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for having me, Chris.
Absolutely. We always like to ask our guests, tell us about your journey. What were you doing before that led you into what you're doing now?
My story is really weird. I don't necessarily think that it's a direct path if you read it on paper, but in hindsight, it makes sense. So immediately before what I'm doing now, I used to live abroad. I lived in Macau. I was working for a big hotel casino. I was doing project development. So if you are ever in Macau and you happen to go to Galaxy Entertainment Group's hotel and casino, you'll see this giant crystal attraction in one of their lobbies for their hotels. I built that. Obviously not with my bare hands. I was the project manager, but I really thought I wanted to be a Disney Imagineer. So before that, I worked for Disney. I went abroad to get some extra experience. And then COVID happened. I got stuck in China. And then I ended up moving back to the US after my project was complete because I wanted to be closer to family, which brought me out to San Francisco. So I came here and I was like, no problem, I'll just get a job in tech. That's what everybody does. But fast forward a year, I couldn't find any job. It just wasn't working out. So I took it as a sign to ask myself, what do I want out of life? Do I just want to be chasing a random job, or what trajectory do I want to set for myself? And when I thought about what I wanted to be when I grew up was my own boss, a CEO. And at the time, I don't have an idea for a product or service. I'm drawing a super blank here. So I'm like, what can I do in the meantime to give myself the tools and resources to be able to successfully build a business when I'm ready for that? And the answer to that at the time was just to learn as much as I possibly could from people who have already done it. So I just started Mimir, and what I considered was no other business podcast out there that I was listening to that interviewed other founders was like really getting into how you went from 0 to 1. It was always like this story of, I started X, Y, and Z brand 4 years ago, and it really wasn't until our second year that we hit our big break, and then now we're here today. That's great, but that doesn't help me at all. Like, I don't know.
Like, was the what?
Yeah. Like, how did you do that? So when I started Mimir, that was something that I really wanted to focus on, was giving aspiring entrepreneurs like myself the actual tools and inspiration that they needed to be able to build their dream lives, whatever that looked like. And it's been such a fun experience, and I've loved it. So I started that about almost 2 years ago now, which is insane. It feels like just yesterday. But through that, I ended up realizing that podcasting is hard and it's not a simple business. It takes a lot of time to build. And I'm sure that there are a million other stories out there that will probably tell you that it didn't take a long time, but that just wasn't the case for me. So it was a moment where I stepped back and thought about, is this the lifestyle that I want right now? The answer at the time was no. So I ended up getting a full-time job working at a startup company here in the city for the supply chain. So now I work in their marketing team, which is super great. We're learning like a lot of go-to-market strategies, which is funnily enough, like divine timing again. This is exactly what I need to be learning in order to start my own business. And then somewhere in the middle of both of those things, a good friend of mine had a business idea that he asked me to be the co-founder of. And I was very excited because it aligned really well with my mission and values. So that's how we got to be the co-founder of Aura One also.
That is so cool. Quite the journey. I hear from a lot of entrepreneurs. They're taking their past employee experience and almost using that to where they find opportunity. And this was within a productivity app, because now we're seeing advancements in software, advancements in AI and technology, where there's a need for hyper specialization and expertise within the prompting and how we really use an AI tool. Tell me more about the tool itself. Who is it going to serve? And just an overview of how it works.
Yeah. So Aura One is cool because it's an idea that my co-founder had for over a decade, but the technology was never where it needed to be in order to make it a reality. So he's just been sitting on this. But now that AI is where it's at, it's like the time is nigh and we are building the plane as it's flying. And it's such a cool experience to be able to talk about this as a reality. So just a little bit of a background on what the platform is about. We believe in helping entrepreneurs be their best selves. So with Aura One, you'll be able to come onto the platform, explain your goals, and then our AI will help you do that. So it's all integrated across email, docs, calendars, things like that. So you don't have to worry about that. It dynamically updates. And that's sort of, I think, like the outside of what it looks like from a user perspective. But underneath, we're training our AI to be really deeply entrenched in you as a person. So I don't know if you use ChatGPT. I use ChatGPT every day. And they learn a little bit, but it's not necessarily like personalized, I would say. And this is, I think, where the solutions sort of fall down. Like, as an entrepreneur, it's a very lonely journey. You need a support system to have an unbiased third party, not just being there to champion you, to, yes, you can do it, I believe in you, but also somebody there to be like, I see you. I see where you're going. And I think that this would be really helpful. Have you thought about this to build your business? Are you using these tactics? What about your finances? How are they doing? Do we need to build this? Let me also help you schedule these calendar invites so that way you can take your business to the next level. And it's also like, okay, I understand that you work best between the hours of 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. I'm not going to schedule deep work at 5:30. And it doesn't take a lot of prompting to do that. Right now, you could do that with ChatGPT, but it takes a shitload of work and a lot of time that, like, I personally don't have, nor am I interested in developing. I want a solution that's ready to go, that understands me, my working habits, where my strengths are, where my weaknesses are, to then help me fill in the gaps. So that way I can build a complete system and I can really just focus on what I can do as the CEO instead of having to do all the other heavy lifting of a tool that doesn't work.
Right, absolutely. And oftentimes with ChatGPT or these other LLMs, oftentimes with a very basic general prompt, they assume a lot of things. So that can be good or bad, right? If we're looking for more honest and critical feedback instead of needing a champion right now, will the AI know that and understand that is the kind of feedback and prompting that we need right now? But that just being more, the prompting is all how you build this out, and it can create a better output for what you do with your AI model. And it can learn from the past conversations and past experiences. And that's what you're hoping to build, is something that can actually learn from you, your past experiences. And then it's almost like having your own personal executive assistant mixed in with a coach or consultant who's being your cheerleader.
Yeah, it's such a fascinating experience. And I am obsessed with AI. I think I'm just like a nerd about it. And my 9 to 5 company also works in AI. So I get to spend a lot of time with our AI engineers and asking them 1,000,005 questions about how they're building. And I think the important thing to note about any AI platform, and something that I always am deeply questioning, is how are you training that model? What does that look like from the back end? What kind of logic are you building into your system? Because, like, no matter what vertical, no matter what industry you're in, hyper specialization, like you said, is really the key. And you have to scrutinize that experience about, you prompt, it takes in some information and then spits that out. What happens in between that and how it's calling information and delivering the right answer is the secret sauce. So you want to make sure that you're scrutinizing any solution or partner that you're looking to bring on that has thought about these questions and can show you. Like, I want to be able to see the logic. I want to be able to chat and be like, how did you come up with that? I want to be able to understand where it got that information from. So then that way, as a user, and a developer, I can make sure that the model is being trained live. So anytime a user generates input and it's not spitting out the right answer, it's being retrained as it's happening. And when you say that, it sounds obvious, but there are so many companies that are not doing that. And it was shocking for me to learn that. But to be able to see it in real life is so freaking cool. To see that it's actually working, you're like, holy shit, wait, it's real. The AI is real. It's so
Yes.
exciting. It's such a cool time to be alive.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you're building out these systems, is there any tips or tricks for creating these prompts or how you get a better output or end result from the LLM? Because sometimes I feel like it completely misses the mark. Sometimes I think it's like thinking 5 steps ahead for me. And it's like, do you want me to also do this, this, and this? And I'm like, oh, wow, that's crazy. So how do you kind of work and tease AI a little bit to get a better end result?
So, from a personal perspective, when I'm talking to my ChatGPT, I'm very clear. And that was really overwhelming. I didn't love that. Can we break that down into more bite-sized pieces? I think there's something my boyfriend says all the time is he's shook by how much prompt I do. And it's a lot of heavy lifting, which is the other reason why I'm confident that if somebody looks at our solution and they're like, oh, you can't just ChatGPT, which I'm sure people will do. And I'll be like, have you ever used ChatGPT? It's a lot of heavy lifting. It's a lot of work. You could do it that way, the heavy lifting. And then I think from a back end perspective, if a developer or somebody who's interested in building a product like this is listening, it's not a new concept. It's called the Mechanical Turk. This is an interesting side quest, but Amazon recently, or I guess not so recently, had some big drama in the news about this with their Amazon stores because it was supposed to be using the Mechanical Turk, which is an atomic task system. So essentially what that means is it's just breaking down bigger tasks into smaller tasks to add up into this bigger task, which is like not a new concept. But I think most AI companies need to be building with this system at hand because if you have a very complex problem, that's the only way you're going to be able to solve it accurately and at scale. So yeah, if you guys don't know about what happened, they essentially said that their Amazon stores, the ones that you could just walk in and check out and you didn't have to pay or anything like that, that was using this system. But it turns out that it was just like a bunch of offshore people looking in at video cameras and hand typing in the information of what you were putting in your cart and buying, which is hilarious. But it's not to say that doesn't work because it does, but it was just like a hilarious instance in which the curtain was dropped and you were like, caught with.
What's behind the curtain? And I've seen that with other product launches and demos. You're rereading the history or the story behind it, and you realize they never had a working prototype leading up to it. And it's either pre-recorded scenes and sequences, or they somehow pulled out a Hail Mary in the final seconds and were able to create something and pull it up. I believe that was the first rendition of Google Earth. What was Google Earth? The system created from that. And that was super cool to hear that background. But I think when it comes to building these AI systems, they're being integrated into every app, whether we wanted AI or not. So it's interesting to see that people are jumping onto this, yet still so many people don't know about it, and specifically businesses. And not only do they not know, but how to really utilize it to its fullest potential. And that's what people like you are building today. You're like, okay, this is my mission, my focus, and I just want to make the best darn product for this use case. And I'm going to happen to use AI to make that happen.
Yeah, 100%. I think this is like twofold, right? AI is definitely at the core of our business. It's the foundation for everything. And the solution that we're providing on top of that is equally as important. I guarantee you that any company that's building with AI today from scratch is thinking about it this way. Whereas more legacy companies are being like, we have a product and AI is a buzzword and we don't want to miss out on that train. So they're like, we'll just put AI somewhere. And that's not going to last because the way that AI works is you really have to build a foundation. This goes back to what I was saying before. In the early days, it takes a while to build AI. So like what you might be seeing on the user end is now what's happening on the back end. And that's okay because in a startup phase, in any AI company, it takes time to build. So guaranteed a human is doing a lot of the heavy lifting for the AI for a hot minute before the AI can start doing its thing. But that's cool. That's just the process. We accept that. But you have to be considerate of how and what you're building. Like for us, we care about empowering people to be the best version of themselves that they can be. So for us, the AI is really at the core of that. And then our product sits on top of that. It'd be very different if I was like, my product was like retail. Like, I don't know if I need AI on the front end for that. You know what I'm saying? So I think strategically about your use case and think strategically about your mission and then think about, hey, how AI can help you do that at all. It's also fine to be like, we use it on the back end. For example, let's go back to the retail example. Customer service chatbot is the easiest and most effective way to use AI in your business if you really care about that. But I wouldn't necessarily put it on the front end if it doesn't need to be there. Do you know what I mean?
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. It's about the use case. Just because something could fit doesn't mean it should fit. And it's the end result and the value that people are looking for. So with you working full time and then you're working full time as well on your startup, how do you manage your day to day? I mean, we're wearing so many hats. There's a lot on our plate. It feels like there's always more to do. How do you handle it all?
Work in
That's
progress. Every
right.
day is like, I want to acknowledge that it's not easy. It might look easy because I've built systems around myself. I'm hyper organized, hyper detailed. I have my calendar set up. I've done enough automation on the back end to try to make my life easier. I have so many episodes on my podcast if anybody really wants to do deep dives in these, but high level, I have systems set up around me. I think what really changed everything for me, and this sounds counterintuitive, but have hobbies. Like, do not make your business your whole life because it will make it harder to think and to make good decisions. To have stuff outside of your work life makes you a more well rounded human being. It makes you more grounded. And so then that way, when it is time to work, you're working at your maximum capacity. This is something of a life hack is like thinking about when you work at your best and then maximizing that effort. So that way, when you're not working, you're processing and relaxing, and rest is so important. If the way that our brains work is that we process information during the day, and then when we sleep, that's really when everything gets absorbed. So if you don't have enough rest time out and just generally time outside of your business, you're not absorbing information actually. So you're not going to be able to perform well. So yes, I have 7 billion things going on at all times. And some days I drop a plate. It always feels like spinning plates, and it's not easy. And it's just one of those things where you have to just acknowledge that you're doing the best that you can. You're not a perfect person. Mistakes will happen, but if you show up every day with the mindset that you're just doing the best that you can and you really are passionate about your projects and you treat yourself like a well-rounded individual, you'll do fine. It's okay.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And I don't think a lot of people realize how our subconscious minds are actively working when we're not actually thinking about work, which is why both the rest and the outside hobbies, having something different that isn't work, actually frees up our mind to have more energy and then absorb that information later. So the more we can shift our mind away from thinking about business, suddenly that's why we get those shower moments, the aha moments that are like, oh, wow, suddenly your brain was thinking in the back end and then allows you to kind of build off of that. But you're right, it is a tough journey. We're just trying to juggle a bunch of different things, prioritize what's in front of me right now, and then 7 million other things, just take a back burner for now. But it's just a prioritization, working on what's going to give the best end result. It's not about working the more hours. It's like, how can I be more productive within the hours that I have allotted or that I'm given? And for you kind of balancing this all, building a business, what is key factor that entrepreneurs all have, and what is the best way for building relationships?
This is super fascinating. I just talked to a lady the other day. She is a business psychologist, and she's been doing research that specifically shows correlation between personal growth and business growth. So she's saying that if you are not good in your business or you are not good as a person, your business will not be good. So I think when you're building a business, you really have to prioritize yourself. The business is coming from you. So you need to be healthy mentally and physically. You need to be self-aware. That's the other super key thing, to recognize where your strengths and weaknesses are and then not let your ego get involved so that you can make clear-headed decisions.
Absolutely. I totally agree. I'm trying to put all that together and find that balancing act. It's been a journey of 11 plus years for myself, varying effort and results and success within that. But it's a part of the journey. You may see what other people see as the one success, but not the 9 failures that took us to get there. But those were learning lessons along the way that actually helped us to get where we are.
Yeah. I mean, the more diverse your experience, the easier I find it is to be an entrepreneur because you entrepreneurs actually have different brains. This is something else that I learned from her. She was saying that the way that our mind works is that we can genuinely see options that other people cannot see. And there's also a flip side to that coin. But the cool thing about that is that we think differently and we're pulling from a vast array of experiences and applying them to situations in a way that nobody else can. So it puts us in a very unique and exciting position because it's really not about the destination. That's not why we're in it. We're in it because we love to build. And when you think about that, it takes the pressure off a little bit because this is where the fun is. This is where the chaos is. And I think is what we all collectively thrive on. And when you stop worrying about the exit or the $5 million or the whatever number you're thinking of, that's not going to give you the adrenaline or the dopamine. It's the build that will do that. I don't know. It's not that deep. Life is so much more than this. This feeds our soul 100%. Don't get me wrong. This doesn't mean that I don't care because I care so deeply. But for me, it's not that deep. There's always going to be something else to build. There's always going to be another project. See your projects through to their natural end date and then do something else. Just stick with it. Follow your heart and your excitement, and that will never lead you astray. And I think one of the big lessons that I've learned along this journey.
Absolutely. And I'm seeing a trend with the entrepreneurs. You're right. They do have just a different mindset. They see opportunities and options where others don't. And to piggyback off of that, I've heard from others is that many of them are either self-diagnosed or medically diagnosed ADD or ADHD. So I wonder if this more active mindset, deep diving into a hyper focusing on a project for 10 to 14 hours because you're just into it, you're in the zone, what balances and correlations they have with other people as well, either from that or just entrepreneurs. So definitely interesting to see the mindset and how we utilize that to our benefit.
Yeah, there's some really exciting research coming out that is validating stuff I've been talking about for years and that exactly what you just said. So it's really cool to see that this is actually being scientifically proven. And on the flip side of that, yes, we're high performing. And yes, we have these cool abilities to zero in and to see routes that others may not. But the other side of that coin is that there's also a darkness that comes with it. And when I heard this woman that I was talking to explain, it was like when you go to the doctor and you have all these weird symptoms and finally you're like, oh, that's why it's like that. And yes, as entrepreneurs, we have these dope superpowers. But the flip side of that, our kryptonite, is that we also feel like we're never doing enough. And so you get sort of in these dark periods sometimes where you're like, I'm a failure and I'll never be able to get to where I need to go. It's just too hard. And I experience this probably once a month, but it's to know that it's just a part of, it's not intrinsically meaning that you have something wrong with you. I think you can take the you out of it and be like, no, this is just because of the way that my brain works. And remove that emotional or separate from it emotionally, you can kind of see it for what it is. And hopefully it helps you get through it a little bit faster. But honestly, sometimes you just need a good cry.
Absolutely. I was just going to say the dark moments only happen once a month for you. Wow, that seems infrequent, like once an hour.
Sometimes you just need a good cry and then you get right back on the horse.
You're like, you know what? All right, that's over.
Well, I do. I feel much better. I just needed to cry and I feel good and I'm ready to go.
It's funny. Someone actually mentioned for productivity hacks is to actually put time in your calendar either to cry or to worry about the things that you worry about all the time. Make time for that. So that way you're like, oh, I have time set aside for that. And then when it gets time to actually do that, you realize, oh, wow, I'm actually spending time worrying about something that I can't either affect the outcome or is not going to really change it. So why get so invested emotionally into this? It just doesn't make sense.
Yeah. I attended a panel the other day and one of the women on it was, I stopped carrying a to-do list. I literally got rid of it. And everyone in the audience is like, wait, what? I literally have my planner sitting right here. I cannot live without my planner. And she was like, if it's important enough, it'll get done. If not, whatever. She was literally, the to-do list was giving me anxiety, so I just chucked it. And I mean, she's incredibly high performing. So I think it's just about figuring out what works for you And again, maximizing your efforts, which I think is why like having a hyper specialized AI tool makes so much sense because we're all very unique and different and how we operate is thusly different. And to have somebody that understands you and then can like help you build processes and systems that support that just like kind of makes sense.
Right. And it's not like this cookie cutter template that is in the norm. If you want to do this, this is how everybody does it. And it's like, okay,
Mhm.
well, there's subsets and smaller groups that just work differently. So we need to adjust to that. And now further on, as we learn more, okay, we learn there are different personality types. There are people ways that people learn differently. Some are visual, some are hands-on, some need to witness it. So it's all using all that data and then feeding it into the AI to help us be better. Now, Maddie, where can people find you online and get connected with you?
Please check out my podcast, Mimir, available anywhere you listen to podcasts, or you can head to my website, mimir.ink. Aura One is taking beta testers very soon, so I will include the link in the show notes to that, but it's aura1.com. And you can reach out to me through my website at any time. I'm always happy to chat. Like, truly, if you are an entrepreneur and you have questions about your business, genuinely hit me up. I'm always free for a 15-minute chat to help anybody who has questions.
Very nice. Wonderful. And we will have those links available down in the show notes and the description as Maddie described. Now, Maddie, what are you looking forward to most in 2025? We just started quarter 2. You have a lot of things that are cooking. You mentioned beta testers. What's going to be the next iteration, the next step here going forward?
So, yeah, I mean, honestly, my first answer was that I'm currently in a apartment hunting. So that I'm really excited about for 2025, fresh space. I'm excited to spend more time with my family. And I have a couple hobbies that I started to develop this year as part of my 2025 goals. So those were the first thing that came to my mind. My business were completely separate, but I think that just goes to show my mindset a little bit. So I'm really excited about Aura One's development. This is like our big first year into business. So hopefully we'll be able to secure some funding so we can go to the next stage. Ideally, we'll at the end of the year have secured pre-seed Series A. That would be crazy. And then from Mimir, I just want to create a community of founders and to be able to connect them with the resources that they need. So I've been working on a way for that to be a streamlined process. So if you guys are founders, hit me up. If you guys have gaps in your businesses that you're looking to fill, also hit me up. I'm just trying to learn as much as I can right now. So I'd love to chat. But that's sort of what's on the pipeline for now. I'm sure there's a lot more that's coming that I have no idea. The universe loves to hit you when you're least expecting it. So I'm going to stay nimble and deal with what's right in front of me.
Oh, so true. It is very well said. And I definitely agree and appreciate that you started with your personal excitement instead of the business ones, because just like you said, focus on the personal growth and that'll help lead to the business growth as well.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.